Dear students, today we'll be discussing the concept of dharma, which is considered to be one of the key concepts governing Indian social, political, and economic life of people in ancient times. Essentially, our discussion would focus on three important areas. 1. What is dharma? Why was dharma so important in ancient times? Secondly, what are the various connotations of dharma? And thirdly, how has dharma been interpreted in the various scriptures and important texts? Students, ancient Indian political thought developed as a system of political philosophy through centuries of exposition, interpretation, and revision of fundamental concepts governing political, social, and economic life of people in those days. Dharma was the cornerstone of Indian social and political philosophy. In fact, ever since the beginning of the Vedic civilization, dharma has been considered to be the basic foundation. In fact, all important texts, from the Vedas, Brahmanas, Upanishads, Manusmriti, Arthashastra, Niti-shastra, all the texts focus on the importance of dharma. In fact, dharma and dant are considered to be the twin foundation of Indian socio-political order. Therefore, students, the philosophical analysis of the term is essential to grasp adequately the Indian way of thinking. Now, students, what is dharma? Where is the word derived from? Etymologically, the word dharma is derived from the root word dhri, which means to sustain, to uphold, to support, to maintain, to keep. So dharma is an order, a philosophy, a way of life. It is all-encompassing, students. It includes duty, law, usage, custom, prescribed behavior, justice, equity, virtue, morality, justice, statecraft, and governance. In fact, all aspects of human life are governed by dharma. Now, the concept of dharma encompasses a wide variety of ideas, precepts, and principles. In fact, it is interesting to note that dharma was the overarching principle that governed ancient Indian way of life. Now, dharma can be interpreted in various ways. Dharma is a cosmic order. Dharma is a social order. It is ethics. It's a part of Purushartha. It's a regulator of the caste order, the Varnasrama Dharma. It is duty and responsibility. It is also sacrifice. And students, not to forget, dharma is also the basis of politics and statecraft. Dharma as a cosmic order. In the Vedic literature, dharma stood for the cosmic Rita, the law that governs the entire universe. This cosmic law is replicated in the social system also. On a cosmic level, dharma is a way in which one maintains everything, the way in which the entire cosmos, the entire balance of the universe is maintained. Now let us try to understand how dharma can be replicated at the societal level, at the micro level. Dharma is the way in which every constituent element of the cosmos contributes its share to maintaining the overall balance. Each element has its own dharma, which is Swadharm. As long as each element of the cosmos performs a specific Swadharm, the overall balance does not suffer. However, students, if any one element does not perform a Swadharm, deviates from its own dharma, that is, commits adharma, the balance is disturbed, social conflicts ensures. So dharma basically is a balancer of society. Just like the entire cosmic order is regulated, coordinated through the existence of fixed universal principles and laws. Just like the sun, moon pursues their daily journey across the sky, and the seasons proceed in a regular manner. Similarly, Rita can be replicated in the society and was replicated. It was a system of injunctions and ordinances and laws and principles to uphold societal system, societal order. In fact, it is believed that this Rita would manifest itself as the imperative force behind both the moral order of society and the correct performance of Vedic rituals, ultimately contributing to balance and harmony in society. Now, Dharma, students, is also a social order. It is not a religion, not a creed, a way of life, which governs individuals right from their life till death. It keeps them within a regulated pathway. What is the ultimate purpose? The ultimate purpose is to bring about a gradual development of man and to enable him to reach what was deemed to be the final goal of human existence. Dharma thus refers to a code of laws that governs human life. Universal peace and harmony are the fruits of universal performance of Dharma. If you obey and follow a dharmic way of life, Dharma ensures that a life becomes harmonious. However, if Dharma is destroyed, it destroys everything. Hence, it is a cooperative effort and endeavor, not of just of one person, but all individuals residing, communities, groups, to ensure that each of them follow the Dharma of their own life, the Dharma of the caste order, to ensure that all individuals are bound by this code of righteousness, the moral code, the code which would ensure that there is societal harmony. Apart from Dharma being a cosmic order, as well as a social order, Dharma is also ethics. It propounds, do unto others as others would do unto you. When an individual conforms to a certain sense of universal values and principles, behavioral norms, she contributes to the maintenance, sustenance, and upliftment of the societal order. In fact, students, if the universal norms are violated, the adharma follows, resulting in a chain of actions and reactions which might destroy the harmony and peace of the society. Therefore, in the interest of all, it was essential for the ancient people to follow the code and a way of life called Dharma. Now, we move on to another important aspect of Dharma. Dharma as a part of Purushartha. Now, what is Purushartha? Purushartha refers to our end, our aspirations aimed by man. What do we desire? In fact, it is said that every human being desires 4 important elements: Dharma, Arth, Kam, and Moksha. Dharma is said to be the highest among the other virtues. Dharma presupposes assignment of clearly assigned functions and roles for every individual. It is intrinsic. It is a way of life. Every individual should lead a dharmic way of life. Apart from dharma, an individual also desires arth, which is material possession, prosperity, as a part of life. Arth is required for your material well-being. The scriptures emphasized on arth as an important element in human's life. Apart from dharma and arth, the third element was kam, desire, aspiration, pleasure, which was also needed for a balanced living. Finally was moksha, or liberation. Liberation from what? Liberation from the freedom, from the cycle of life and death, from suffering, freedom from bondage, non-attachment to object of desires, moksha for eternal bliss and propinquity with God. It was an intrinsic value. In fact, it was believed that living a life of dharma would ensure attainment of moksha. The other 3 values, arth, kam, and moksha, can only be attained when dharma was followed, dharma was abided by. Now, it was believed that these 4 purusharthas do not operate to the exclusion of all others. They are integrated, they are linked. In fact, it is said that through proper coordination, if you can regulate dharma, artha, kama and moksha, ultimate end of life would be visualized and achieved. You'll get a truly integrated personality, a full life, which would be materially rich, aesthetically beautiful, ethnically sound, and spiritually emancipated. This is the purpose of life. This is what we want to. And ancient Hindu writers emphasized on this balance for maintaining a true life. Students, now we move on to another important area, Swadharm, my own dharma. Now students, we all perform various kinds of duties in the different roles that we perform in society. Duty as a brother or sister. Duty as a father or mother. Duty as a son or daughter. All these duties entails performance of certain obligations towards others. The Hindu writers never felt that Swadharm was a self-centered individual. Swadharm never entailed that we need to be selfish and self-centered. We have to live a life for others. In fact, it is never atomic individualism, but a harmoniously evolved social structure with individual participation as the ideal. Swadharm is the dharma of an individual, a person in the various roles that he plays in society. Coming to the next important part, which you might be aware of, Ashram Dharma, the dharma of the various stages of one's life. It was believed, students, that at each stage of life we have certain roles and responsibilities to perform. Almost all the Vedic scriptures and Hindu texts emphasize that a person's life is divided into 4 main stages: Brahmachari, Grihasta, Vanprastha, and Sannyas or Parivrajika. Each stage entails certain series of do's and don'ts. Let's come to Brahmachari. What are the duties of a Brahmachari? This is your student life, where you're prescribed to follow some scriptures, read, gain knowledge, follow the rituals, being devoted to your guru, and ensure that you lead a disciplined student life. So this is the stage of learning, the stage of gathering knowledge. Once you complete your education comes the next stage, Grihasta, the stage you get married, settle down, have children, and fulfill your duties as a householder, pursue your profession, marry a woman of the same Varna, procreating children, worshipping gods, ancestors, guests, sacrificing own pleasure for the others, and not being dependent on others, enjoying life with balance. This is the second stage. Once the second stage is completed, an individual moves on to the third stage, Vanprastha. This is the stage of observing celibacy, following the rituals, preparing a life of renunciation, worshipping gods, ancestors, guests, living on things gathered from the forests. The purpose of this life is to be dependent neither on charity nor on one's wealth. You are supposed to get yourself detached from your earthly attachments, earthly desires. This is a period of preparation for your final journey. The last stage, Sannyas or Parivrajika. This is the last period of a man's life. Complete control over one's senses, refraining from active life, renunciating all material possessions, sacrificing earthly pleasures, residing in the forests, and preparing for a grand journey into afterlife. In fact, it was believed that these 4 stages of a man's life would ultimately contribute to balanced and a harmonious way of life. You have neither too much of material possessions, not too much of renunciation. Every aspect of life is balanced. The next important aspect of Dharma is Varnashram Dharma, which is also called maintenance and regulation of the caste order. Varnashram Dharma essentially speaks about duties of communities, castes. There were fourfold Dharma or Varnashram Dharma: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. Each Varna had certain specific duty or responsibility to perform. For instance, Brahmins were supposed to engage themselves in teaching, performance of rituals, interpretation of scriptures, and aiding the king in the performance of his functions. Kshatriyas were prescribed to be the upholder of rule, to ensure that they perform the functions of protecting the kingdom, being deft at arms, and ensuring that they also learn the scriptures. We also have the third Varna, that is Vaishyas, who are supposed to be engaged in trade and commerce. Finally, we have the Shudras, who are supposed to be the service providers, providing services to the other three Varnas. So here we have 4 Varnas performing 4 different roles in society. Now, students, Dharma is also considered to be a duty and responsibility. Responsibility in terms of accomplishment of one's own self. In fact, it is believed that observance of one's own Dharma leads to heaven and eternal bliss. On the other hand, if Dharma is transgressed, adharma leads to disaster, calamities in the world. Dharma is also considered to be a sacrifice, sacrificing for others. In fact, it was considered to be a duty to perform 5 main sacrifices in one's own life. In fact, first one is the Brahma Yajna, which is sacrifice, preservation of the sacred learning. The second sacrifice is Pitri Yajna, which is dedicated to the ancestors. You remember your lineage and tradition. It also serves to remind us that our past is a necessary link to our present and the future. The third Yajna refers to Dev Yajna, our reverence to the gods. Fourth, Bhuta Yajna, reverence and obligation to nature, being grateful to nature. And finally, Nri Yajna, which is the Indian term for hospitality, sacrifice of bread, to ensure that we live for others. Dharma is also politics, students. It's statecraft. Hence, Raj Dharma was so important. In fact, the basis of governance in ancient Hindu society was Raj Dharma. It was the duty of the king to maintain Raj Dharma. The king had to perform functions pertaining to welfare, good of all, to ensure that Dharma was maintained and preserved. And hence it was a part of the Dharma of the king to ensure the happiness and welfare of the subjects. Dharma was also a part of interstate relations. Hence the term Dharma Yudh. Even ethics and Dharma was followed in war. In fact, the Mahabharat speaks of Dharma Yudh, righteous war. Not just war. Dharma was also a part of treatment of prisoners of war. It was considered to be a part of the Dharma of a state to provide just and humane treatment to prisoners of war. It was essential for the state to ensure that acquired territories did not face any form of inhuman rights or violation of rights. Let us now move on to another important area. If these are the connotations of Dharma, where do we find the various connotations? The various texts and scriptures have interpreted Dharma in various ways. Let us start with the Vedic literature, students. In the Rig Veda, the word Dharma implies law or ordinance. The Yajur Veda speaks of a fixed and unshakable Dharma. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad considers Dharma to be the guiding force of socio-political life and implies that social and political institutions are meant for the realization of Dharma. The Chandogya Upanishad also speaks of Dharma as constituting 3 branches: studies, austerities, and contemplation, and includes methods and techniques for personal and inward growth and development of each individual. In the Aitharya Brahmana, the king was considered to be the protector of dharma. The Upanishads speak of dharma as the force of force or the power of power. There was nothing higher than dharma. The entire Vedic literature considered dharma to be the sole force, the maker of life. Coming to the Arthashastra, the Arthashastra of Kautilya also upholds dharma as a value of life. In fact, Kautilya speaks of dharma as three important elements: dharma as a social duty, dharma as a moral law, and dharma as a civil law. In fact, he says that if there is a disagreement between institutional law and practice and the authoritative text on dharma, or for that matter, if there are conflicts between the text and evidence, the matter has to be settled in accordance with dharma. So dharma cannot be transgressed under any circumstances. Coming to the Mahabharat, the great epic. If you look into the Bhagavad Gita, the discourse between Krishna and Arjuna centers around dharma. The discourse between Yudhishthir and Bhishma Pitamaha, when he was lying on the bed of arrows in the battlefield, it also centered on Kingship Dharma. When asked by Yudhishthir to explain the meaning and scope of dharma, Bhishma replied, "It is very difficult to define dharma. Dharma has been explained to be that which helps the uplifting of living beings, which ensures the welfare of living beings. The learned rishis have declared that which sustains is dharma." Manusmriti, another important text, also considers dharma to be a way of life. In fact, Manusmriti acknowledges and emphasizes on the fact that dharma preserves the person who maintains it, but if it is violated, it ruins the violator. He describes at length the various aspects of dharma and the sources of dharma. From where do we get to know the source of dharma? He says there are 4 sources of dharma: Vedas, Smritis, ways and conduct of life of good people, and what pleases the soul or self of a man. It's a conscience. He advocates the supremacy of dharma, so much so he says that dharma provides the moral roots of political power. In fact, Manusmriti also speaks about the various types of dharma. It speaks about Raj Dharma, the dharma of the king; Ashram Dharma, the duties of 4 stages of human life; Varnasrama Dharma, dharma of the various castes, groups; Stri Dharma, duties towards women; Dampatya Dharma, duties of husband and wife; and finally, Apodharma, dharma pertaining to the ill, distressed, disabled. Now, all these 6 types of dharma actually encompass the entire life of humans. Dharma in Buddhism. It is not that only the ancient Hindu texts focus on dharma. Buddhism also speaks about dharma. However, please note that for Buddha, dharma was not rituals or caste order. He criticized the caste system, but dharma to Buddhism was a doctrine. It was a doctrine of universal truth, which was equally applicable to all individuals. There was no inequality in observance of dharma. Everybody was supposed to be governed by the same dharma. Buddhists believed that individuals could free themselves from the suffering by practicing meditation, cultivating a lifestyle. In fact, one's own dharma was an end to a good life. Now he writes and speaks in one of his lectures about setting in motion the wheel of dharma. It's so important to learn the wheel of dharma. As a part of dharma, Buddha spoke about the 4 noble truths, which is very simple. He says that we should understand that life is a suffering. Each one of us undergoes suffering. Suffering is caused by craving, attachment. Suffering can have an end, and How do we end this suffering? The Eightfold Path. In fact, following the Eightfold Path was dharma and a doctrine of life. And he says that this Eightfold Path consists of right views, right intentions, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right meditation. And this would lead to right concentration and ultimately a moral life, a moral existence. On the basis of this discussion, students, we can say that the entire edifice of Indian philosophical tradition rests upon dharma. Physical, political, social, economic. Life was grounded in the spirit of dharma. Dharma ensured balance and harmony in society. In fact, dharma was coincided with life. It was believed to be coexistent with life. In fact, it was not just a spiritual principle. It was a political, social principle. It was a symbol of law, justice, and order. Let us just quickly sum up what we have studied so far. We found that dharma has been derived from the root word dri, which means to sustain, to uphold. And then we moved on to the various connotations of dharma in terms of cosmic order, social life, purushartha, caste regulator, Swadharm, dharma of the individual. We also found dharma was a part of politics, statecraft, international relations. Through these various connotations of dharma, we understood that dharma was not a religion or a creed, it was a way of life. Then we understood and analyzed the various scriptures, texts, and how they have interpreted dharma. We found that in almost all the scriptures, the underlying spirit was dharma as a balancer, as a harmonizing principle, and as maintenance of physical, social, moral life. So dharma was the guiding principle which contributed to statecraft, governance, and ensured that there was no conflict among individuals, communities, because every individual has a set of precepts to follow. And these precepts were an indispensable part of every individual's life. So dharma was a way of life. Thank you.